Spotlight is proudly sponsored by HEC Media.
They're going to be brought into a world of memory, of objects.
Black History is every month. You don't wait till February and put it back in the closet.
That family saying thank you for everything that we've done, that's big.
Today on Spotlight, an elementary school turns into an animal shelter. Plus, a book with rare photos of African women and fashion from the last 100 years. And then the first solo show inside Craft Alliance featuring a wall full of pottery. But first, for one St. Louis family, every month is Black History Month. It's Sunday and you're watching the Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
For the Wright family of St. Louis, Black History Month is not confined by the bounding box of February.
Black History is every month. You don't wait till February and put it back in the closet.
Or in their case, back on the shelf. Dr. John Wright Sr., his wife Sylvia, and their son, Dr. John Wright Jr., are the authors of Extraordinary Black Missourians, with its cast of characters expanded in a new second edition.
There's so many people that aren't aware of contributions that have been made by people of color. There's so much that's left out of history. To suit a particular narrative, this book helps check some of that dishonesty.
For example, take the story of James Beckworth, a fur trapper from St. Louis who discovered an important pass through the Sierra Nevada mountains, an accomplishment so important it was celebrated in the film Tomahawk. But in the film, James Beckworth is called Saul Beckworth, and worse yet,
He was played by a white guy. So they saw the movie, they saw Jim Beckworth, but to them, everyone who saw, the white guy did that. So you have to make sure kids, black and white, get a true picture of history.
the first chapter in the book is the story of Archer Alexander, a fugitive slave living in St. Louis, who needed a place to hide after foiling a plot to booby-trap a bridge used by Union soldiers. He found safe harbor thanks to William Greenleaf Eliot, the founder of Washington University, who also helped create the controversial Freedman's Monument in Washington, D.C. It was Eliot who convinced the sculptor the model for the man being emancipated should be St. Louis's Archer Alexander. One of the really interesting stories in the book was Kathy Williams, or William Kathy, depending on how you tell the story.
Yes. She was the only known female Buffalo soldier. There may have been others. She got a commission right here in St. Louis at Jefferson Barracks. She hid her identity during the war. I mean, it's hard to do that, but she did. And when she applied for her pension, they wouldn't give it to her.
In the HBO docudrama about the Tuskegee Airmen, a fighter pilot called Hannibal Lee takes Eleanor Roosevelt up in a plane. The story is true, but that pilot's real name was not Hannibal Lee.
That was Charles Anderson, and from U City, who was a meteorologist who did that. From our town, from where I went to high school, a town where I did most of my growing up. I didn't know that was Charles Anderson.
In that same film, that same fictional Hannibal Lee takes out a German destroyer, but in real life, that was Wendell Pruitt from St. Louis, the Pruitt in the name of the Pruitt School, and perhaps better known, the Pruitt-Igoe housing complex. Among the lesser-known names is Elizabeth Keckley, an enslaved seamstress who bought her freedom and became the dressmaker for Mary Todd Lincoln. And the list goes on and on. The Wright family are all educators by profession, but they did not set out to write a textbook. It's more of a handbook, really, about using the tools you have to build a future you thought you could only imagine.
I think we'd have more of an interest in the present if we knew more about the past.
I suppose the thing that's really interesting about this is that not only were these people great, but they had to put up with so much more and overcome so much more to eventually achieve their greatness. It's amazing that any of them succeeded.
But it's a good story to tell kids. You see what they did and all the obstacles they had to overcome, you can do the same thing. You don't have half the battle to fight that they had. So you can do it. We'll see you at the top. Come on, let's go.
Scan the QR code on your screen to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. School is in session, but the new students look a little different.
You know, it's funny when people walk in, some people are still like, man, I feel like I'm back at school again, or this smells like my grade school.
This former elementary school in East St. Louis is now an animal shelter for the Gateway Pet Guardians.
Was the former Miles Davis Elementary School. Every classroom could be utilized for something separately. There's, individual HVAC units. They're large. The walls are concrete. There's an internal courtyard that's completely surrounded by the building.
The courtyard, which might have been used for recess, still serves as a place to run and play for the furry kids in doggy daycare.
It's really helpful to have doggy daycare because then we can get the foster dogs back here for socialization. And it helps because a lot of times the easy dogs that are really good with other dogs go off to foster pretty quickly. So it's nice to have them back because it can help socialize some of our shelter dogs who aren't as good with dogs.
Shelter manager Brittany Fleming admits sometimes her students walk all over her.
Pepper! Did you see what I did? Yes, this is my office.
Other rooms in the school have been made into a cat room, dog room, volunteer lounge, retail space, and pet spa. The teal hallway features 2 classrooms converted into cuddle rooms.
Full-size classrooms for dogs to decompress or ones that maybe aren't doing so well. Hi, you are cute. Look at that face.
The gym is used for storage, but post-pandemic, it'll be an event space. And
This room is amazing.
the photography room.
I better get some more treats for you.
There's even a clinic, the first and only one in all of East St. Louis.
This community is a resource desert, and so prior to us being here, there was no pet store, there was no veterinarian. So we have vaccine clinics. You can make an appointment at any time for general, wellness, vaccines, heartworm tests, preventatives, nail trims, those types of things. And that is open to the public. Anyone and everyone, no matter where you live, can come and get those services.
They also house a pet food pantry.
So once a month, community members that apply are given pet food for dogs and cats along with litter as they need it.
As Gateway's mission continues to grow, there's one person whose growth is going in another direction.
Now you might make me cry.
Executive Director Jamie Case is leaving after 13 years of service.
They, through Jamie, have accomplished great things.
She's joining American Pets Alive to teach this model of community outreach and keeping people and pets together to shelters around the country.
Hearing on the other end of the phone that family saying thank you for everything that we've done, that's big. That's really big. When someone in a community that lives in such flux and uncertainty, especially amid a pandemic, has someone that can help them keep the one thing that's keeping them grounded, that is a big deal and so important.
Her replacement, Emily Stewart, with experience in human services along with a master's in social work from Wash U.
I'm really interested in bringing a racial equity lens to the work that we do and moving Gateway to the forefront of that work in the animal welfare sector. 2021
is a new era at the Gateway Pet Guardians.
Everybody's treated with respect, no matter how hard it is for them to keep their animals. And they do whatever they can to help people out. Don't judge.
At this former school, this rescue is all about learning and helping, moving forward with a new energy, along with dedicated adopters, fosters, and volunteers.
I couldn't ask for a better place to volunteer at.
A Grammy-winning blues legend, later on Spotlight.
Writer, curator, and textile historian Catherine E. McKinley has gathered hundreds of rare and original photographic images of African women spanning the last 150 years. Many of the images are included in Catherine's new book, The African Lookbook, a visual history of 100 years of African women. The images present a visual history of the power and grace of African women and focus on fashion as a form of protest and resistance. For this special Black History Month presentation, Catherine is joined in conversation by acclaimed photographer and St. Louis native Dario Calmese. Artist, writer, and director Dario Calmese made history in 2020 as the first Black photographer to shoot the cover of Vanity Fair magazine in its 106-year history with his portrait of Oscar-winning actor Viola Davis. His photography has been shown in museums and fine art galleries nationally and internationally, and he's previously worked with everyone from the New York Times to Beyoncé. Dario is also the host of the popular design podcast, Institute of Black Imagination.
So tell me a little bit about the African Lookbook. I know that you were you've had several trips that you've taken to the continent of Africa, and you have a background in photography from an academic standpoint. But like, how did this book come about?
The book, I started traveling to Africa in 1991, and initially I was going just for fun and to explore and, do kind of some degree of research about the past and about some family connections to Ghana in particular. And you would meet new friends and they would give you these tiny photos as a parting gift. And they were beautiful photos because photography for most people was expensive. And so it was kind of an event to have a photo taken. So people would really dress and, they'd have these gorgeous photographs. And I kept those. They felt very intimate and a lot like those kind of Victorian calling cards. There's still a culture of pen pal relationships and that sort of thing. So they were very special. And then I started to do fashion research within 5 years of that. And I was looking at the earliest indigo fashions in particular, or indigo textiles. And for the most part, I had to rely on the colonial record of what was put down in sketchbooks. And it was very, very unreliable and frustrating because the colors were never right. It made me nuts. So I said, okay, where's the photographic record begin? And I realized it began in around 1850. And so I started to search for the earliest photographs. So that's really where my photo collecting began seriously.
Do you personally have a history of sewing?
Not so much. I was in a sewing circle for a while with other writers. We had this little writers sewing circle going on for a while. But I do, like, almost everything I wear is made by a tailor. And I really love that culture. When you're living in Africa, you're kind of like, okay, there's an event. So you buy your cloth and you have the thing sewn. And I love the exchange of that culture. And a lot of times, I write about this quite a bit in the book, but when you go out with friends, or if you go to a funeral, or if you're part of like a women's savings group or whatever it is, there are moments where everyone wears the same cloth. It's called making an anchor. So someone important to whatever it is, if it's a funeral, it may be like the intimate family members will go and they'll either design or buy one cloth. And then they let everybody in the market know that if you're coming to buy for this funeral, this is the cloth. And everybody that's near and dear and wants to show their very close sympathy or joy or whatever it is, they'll buy that cloth and then they'll sew it in their own style. So that was a special thing to be part of, to go out and make an anchor with other people and feel like you're part of that thing.
Scan the QR code on your screen with your phone's camera to watch the full interview and find out about the interesting relationship McKinley discovered between a camera and a sewing machine.
HEC Media presents Talking with Authors, the podcast. your favorite writers and genres with diverse subjects and styles, like Jenna Fisher with The Actor's Life, a survival guide.
The book is literally about my journey from St. Louis to Hollywood.
With new podcasts dropping bi-weekly. Subscribe to Talking with Authors.
We are at Craft Alliance in our new building at 5080 Delmar, and being featured in our Steinberg Gallery is Patty Chambers' Everything and More. It's a solo exhibition of all of her beautiful ceramic work. I've been working with Patty for many, many years and following her progress, and she's an amazing storyteller. You look at her objects from far away and you just get enthralled and you get pulled into her world. And I think she makes work that is really relatable, very creative, witty, and I really think everybody can relate to something in this show.
This work in particular was really eye-opening for me because it was the first work that I made and I posted on the internet while I made it. So each time I made objects, I would post them on social media, on Instagram. And what I found was people really responded to certain objects. And that was really charging for me because I'd not worked that way before. And so having people respond to what you made and share their stories with you, it became this conduit to ideas that were outside of my realm, and it really confirmed this sense of what we are as makers and then what the objects can mean to people. And that was really enlightening for me. This work behind me is 365 objects made out of terracotta. Each object reminds me of a person or people. The idea being that objects that we have around us are charged with a lot of information that are cues to remember our experiences. I take terracotta clay, fabricate the objects by pinching and forming and carving, and then they're fired in a kiln. And these objects behind me, they don't get glaze on them, they're just the natural clay body. And there's variations in the clay depending on when it was fired and if it was fired a little hotter or a little bit less, so that the color is a little deeper or less deep. I have a piece across the room which is called The Things That Remain, and the idea of that piece was to make objects that are left behind after someone passes. And so this is a specific person that it's a portrait of. And I think of it as a halo of objects that are left behind, and then there's a gap where the person would exist. I have figurative work that I've made, and there's a piece of that in the show, which is sort of a portrait for me of Sir Walter Raleigh, but sort of myself as well. The idea of him looking for El Dorado, and then what he found was a potato and tobacco. So disappointment and how it shifts. And then I have prints in the exhibition, which are digital drawings and collages that I've put together that are based on photographs of family members.
When the community comes to see this show, they're going to be brought into a world of memory, of objects. The clay is just so gorgeous. The terracotta color creates this vibration off the wall, and you'll be able to walk through and have a little sanctuary of thoughts and memory.
It's terrific to be at the Craft Alliance in their new space. It's a beautiful space. The gallery is lovely. This gallery has a lot of reputation that people aspire to, so it feels an honor to be shown in this space.
In our new building, we have doubled our studios, and we are open, and our shop is open, and of course our gallery is open. We are also being COVID safe, so please remember you have to wear a mask. You have to sign in when you get here and take your temperature, and we're doing limited capacity. And you can learn more about the exhibition and other things that are happening in Craft Alliance at our website, craftalliance.org.
With every stroke of the bow, every stroke of the brush, with every stroke of genius, the arts make life in St. Louis richer, not just emotionally, but also economically. In our region, the arts create almost $600 million a year in economic activity, supporting more than 19,000 jobs, generating almost $60 million for state and local governments, with almost 12 million annual arts-related visits. That's more than all St. Louis sporting events combined. Whether in a park, on a street, or a wall, experimental or a classic, the arts deserve our support, because the arts help support us. HEC Media is proud to be our region's home for arts, education, and culture, because in St. Louis, the arts mean business.
Sister Mary Antona Ebo was born in Bloomington, Illinois in 1924. In 1946, she and 2 others were the first African American women to enter the Sisters of St. Mary in St. Louis. She became a powerful force in the civil rights movement when she was asked to join the nation's religious leaders at the 1965 Voting Rights March in Selma.
And what the people were actually demonstrating for was their right to register to vote. This wasn't even to go and cast a ballot. It was that they were not even allowed to go to register to vote. And I usually use an expression with my own folks. When you don't go to vote, it's like spitting on the graves of the very people who have died to give us that possibility of being self-determining. And we have that responsibility to do so.
I feel it a privilege to be here today. My name, as they have said, is Sister Mary Antona. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm stationed in St. Mary's Infirmary.
The Sisters of Selma made history as they were the first delegation of nuns to join the protest.
Andrew Young was at the podium and he was talking. He looked up and he saw her. And he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, one of the great moral forces of the world has just stepped in the door." And everybody turned around and saw this black sister standing there.
The 6 of us little nuns walking across the stage of history, scared is not enough. That we have to take a position, and it has to be, for me, it has to be based on my faith, that the Lord will make a way somehow, and I will be a part of that way, and therefore I got to keep going.
Once described as one of the great moral forces of the world, Sister Ebo's civil rights work did not end with Selma. She continued to advocate for equality until her death in 2017 at the age of 93.
I know that the saying from Romans 8:28, for those who love the Lord, all things work together for good according to God's purpose. And that's what we're trying to do, is to be there where the need is the greatest, and to be there for the people that have the greater need, and giving of the very best that you have to give.
You can find the stories featured in today's show along with past episodes and more at hecmedia.org/spotlight.
I want to talk about the chitlin circuit for a minute because there have been so many things said about the chitlin circuit. It's so misleading things, because the chitlin circuit is just what it is. The chitlin, the hog guts. We used to work for the food, and you get a plate of chitlin or 2 or 3 hamburgers. I remember back in the early 50s, I played so well, the guy would give me 2 plates of chitlin. I would sell one up for 25 cents. He'd fix me 4 hamburgers. I would sell 3 of them and eat 1. So I sell a plate, so I would make an extra $2 a day just selling my food that he fixed for me, because he wasn't paying me but $4.50. You know, that's what we was making. My first gig, I'm making $12 a month. $12 a month. 1951, $12 a month. I have been up, I've been down, been turned all the way up, round and round. But I'm so thankful that finally I'm crossed over with a white audience, but yet I didn't cross out the black audience. I remember in 1951, playing in clubs behind the curtain where they don't see my face. but they want to hear my music. Then I have lived long enough to see the change in people's heart and mind. And God has let me live long enough to see the change and enjoy some of the changes that happened to me in my life. Let me tell you how much history in blues. Someone asked me, said, Bobby Roy, so why do you sing the blues? Is it because your woman left you? And I often tell them, yes, you can have the blues when your woman leaves you, but you can also have the blues if they stay too long. Have you ever been mistreated by someone you showed up love? Have you ever been mistreated by someone you shouldn't have loved? Out of all of me and my woman could have left me for. She left me for the garbage man. No matter how bad she treated me, still can't get the love out of my mind, yeah. Well, no matter how bad she treated me, still can't get the girl out of my mind. Out of all the men my woman could have left me for, she left me for the garbage man. If I ever get her to come back, I'm gonna buy myself a garbage truck. If I ever get my woman to come back, Peter, I'm gonna buy myself a garbage truck. When my garbage can't get full, Peter, I'm gonna take it and drop it way, way out in the woods. That's the blues for you.
Next week, a book that's a masterful mix of mystery along with social commentary. We talk to its author. Plus, a bakery cooking up hope by providing jobs to the homeless. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.